Okay, we'll start our module 4. So module 4, we are going to discuss about test management. Okay, so to manage the test, the first important thing is to defect to identify the defects and manage them. So we'll be seeing about defect management, defect classification, defect life cycle. So defect life cycle already we have discussed, but again we'll see in detail. And then defect management process, how we can do, and then reporting defect, how we can report the defect, what are the different ways defect analysis we'll do. And then we have fishbone techniques. So using these techniques we can identify what type of defects is going to cause what type of effect. That means cause effect graph we'll be writing, and then we will be using different techniques to do that. And after that we'll see what is risk analysis, and then risk based testing, test plan, how we can do test strategy. So all these things, and then test estimation, code reviews. So these are all the topics we are going to cover in our module 4. So now we'll start with our defect first. So before going to our defect management, we need to know some terminologies. This already we have seen in our previous modules, so just I am brushing on that, the same topics. So we have already discussed regarding this. So what is a bug, defect or a fault, and failure? So we are using interchangeably all these words you can see here. So bug is nothing but it is the result of coding error or fault in the program, which causes the program to behave in a different manner. That means it should behave in certain manner, but it is not going to behave because of the coding error. Okay, so instead of one for loop, you have given some 2 3 for loop, and it is going to run there in infinitely. Okay, and it is not going to come out of that loop only, and then definitely your functionality is not going to achieve. So like that, that is called as a bug. And then defect is deviation from the requirements. So my requirement is I want all the details of the students, for example, who have scored some extra marks in co-curricular activities. So something like that, that is my requirement. But that requirements I didn't see. So I didn't create any field for co-curricular activities, and I have done an entire project. Then that is a defect. Okay. And then software defect is a condition in a software product which does not meet the software requirement. If you tell it is a defect, that is nothing but it is not going to satisfy the requirement. So if you consider it is a software defect, means in the software product it is not satisfying the requirement, and that is called as defect. And then failure. So here defect means something is there in the requirements but that is not satisfied. And then failure means it is going to deviate. Okay, it is the deviation of the software from its intended purpose. So for what purpose I am going to do the software, that's of purpose it is not at all following, and it is deviating. So it is nothing but the whatever functionalities we want, specific functions that are required, it is not going to execute. Otherwise the performance requirements like your reliability, your security, all those factors are not satisfied. So that is called as a failure. If it is like that, that is called as a failure. So here also you can see we have written defect. So simply the same thing, if the actual and the intended one, if it is not going to be differ, then we can say that is a defect. Okay, so you will be using all these words interchangeably, your bug, defect, failure. So everything will be used interchangeably. So the basic idea is whatever requirements we have taken, the same requirement should be delivered to the client, one thing. And while doing that, no bug should come. That means no errors in the code should be there. And then no failure should happen. That means entirely you are deviating from the actual purpose. No failure should happen. And then the performance requirement should be good. That means the reliability, scalability, we have already discussed, the security, all these should be proper. Then only you can say that your system is 100% reliable or 100% ready to use. Okay. So to make your system, whatever may be the software you are going to develop, it should be not only the output should be correct, it should be proper in all terms, in terms of your reliability, or that means your performance issues or your time issues. That means whenever you are going to execute, the response time also should be proper. So all those things should be taken care, right? So now we'll discuss what is defect management process. So how defect management process can be done. So first we'll see what is the primary goal to prevent defects. Why we want to prevent defects? Because we are going to find the defects quickly. If you find the defects quickly, what happens, we are going to minimize the impact. If at all any defect is there, initially only if you are going to identify it, it is not going to carry out to the other stages, right? So first it will be a requirement phase, then analysis phase, then design phase, then coding phase. In the requirements phase only if you can identify, it is not going to forward to other phases. Otherwise what happens, it will be carried out in the same way, and then finally when you done entire project and they have given for testing, maybe tester will identify that, and then entire project if it is wrong, that means the functionality you have to add everywhere, then entire project we need to change, right? So that's why the main idea is we have to prevent the defects initially only as much as possible, either. And then what we'll say is something is better than nothing, like that prevention is better than cure. In the same way, first thing is developer only should identify and then rectify. If not, at least the testing phase you have to identify the defect, but these should not be carried out in the live production. That means finally when you give it to the client and then it has gone live, that time you should not expect any defects, isn't it? So before how many defects you come, you have to resolve. Finally you should give a system which is very qualitative and which is very responsive, right? So that is the reason. And then the second one is the defect management process should be risk driven. That means what are the strategies, priorities, and resources should be based on the extent to which risk can be reduced. Okay, so for different applications, we'll be having different requirements, right? The strategy you have to follow will be different, and then the priority of the item or the priority of the task you are doing will be different, and then the resources that they are using will be different, right? So these three things should be based on the risk, how we can reduce. So whenever we take a defect management process, it should be risk driven mainly. So with respect to the risk, so by using what strategies, by prioritizing what things, and then by taking what resources you are able to reduce the risk, we have to see every time in that in terms of risk only we have to see. Okay, so that is one thing, how one of the important point in our risk management process. And then the third one is defect measurement should be integrated into software development process, and it should be used by the project team to improve the process. So you should not make that as a different one. Like development team is nowhere concerned with defect, only the testing team is only concerned with defect. Once you develop everything, whatever you want, you code and then you execute. So if you feel your project is complete, then you go for testing. Then tester will tell what all the defects you want. So that is what it is going on. But to make your process efficient, it is better that you just make the defect measurement in the process of your development itself. But that means if these features are integrated, maybe we may expect a defect, or when we are executing, you are seeing a time lapse. That means you are getting the output, but time lapse is there. Why the time lapse is there? Maybe because of any bug in the or error in the program when we are coding. So in that way, while developing only, if you can include okay the defect measurement, then it will be very helpful, because while developing only if they are analyzing means the time required for your entire change will be reduced, right? Otherwise what happens, if entire thing is done, after that you are going to measure the defect means by the time the cost will be more, entire thing should be changed, right? So you should not think your defect management as only the testing process side. You have to make it integrated into the software development process, and it should be used by the project team to improve the process. Then only the output what we are expecting we will be getting that. Okay, so this is the third one. And then fourth one, as much as possible, capture and analysis of information should be automated. Okay, because when you're manually entering any information and then manually capturing any data, maybe there is a more chances of getting errors, right? So as much as possible, capture and analysis of information, if it is automated, there will be less chances of errors, and then we can easily maintain our defect management process. So that's why as possible, if it is not possible, okay, if it is possible, it is better to automate. That defect information should be used to improve the process. So this is the main reason for gathering defect information. So you may think that, okay, defect came already, we have done. Why you want to again make a report for the defect report, and then why you want to address that issue again? If you can see in the real companies also, if you see, if you are a tester, once your testing is done and if any defect is identified, you have to make a report, and then so end of the day you'll be having a call. That means that particular you have given some 10 scripts to write the test cases. I have done that. In that you have some 3-4 errors or 3-4 defects has been come. You'll be having a call for that, and they'll be discussing with you what is the reason, why the defect has occurred. That means you should make sure that because of what reason the defect is coming, and it should not be repeated, right? So that defect information also is very, very important to improve the process. And then most defects are caused by imperfect or flawed process. So thus to prevent defects, process must be altered. So you every time there will not be only coding errors, right? So if coding is correct also, the process, as I told, so one requirement client is asking and you didn't add that requirement only when you are developing. So the coding what you have done was correct only, but that requirement is not added means that is also called as a defect. Not only the coding defect is called as a defect, that requirement defect is also a defect. So, and then the process by which you are identifying and modifying the defects is also really important. Okay. So to prevent the defects, the process also should be efficient. If you are not properly, wherever it is required, if you are not properly analyzing it, then definitely defects will come. So in defect management process, that is also very important. The process must be altered and then it should be more effective. So this is the main aim and how we are going to do the defect management process. So next we'll move to defect classification. Is this clear everyone? Defect management process. This is basic. Like if you read, we can easily understand, but it is really required. Next one is defect classification. Okay, so many defects are coming. So how to identify them? Simply you can't, okay, defect is coming, okay, I'll do something. It's not like that, right? Because the defect again should be we have to send back to the developer. So you are a tester, you are tested and you have identified some defects. So that defects, you are not having knowledge to develop it again or modify it again. You have to send back to the developer, right? So for that, it should be easy. Whenever you are handling multiple projects or in a long projects, many defects will occur. So we have to classify the defects. That is really important. Classification is very important. So why we have to do is to indicate degree of negative impact on the quality of the software. So by doing the classification, you can understand how much negative impact is there on the quality of the software. So majorly we can do into two major classification. One is based on priority, one is based on severity. So defects classified from the quality analysis team perspective, we are taking it as priority, and then the development perspective as severity. Okay, because they'll be developing the code, right? The complexity of code, how much complex it is to fix it. In that perspective, a developer will see. And a testing team, quality analysis team, how they will see is they will see as a priority, defect as a priority, isn't it? That is the case, right? So whenever you have finished your developing part, you will do one unit testing and you'll hand over that to the testing team for testing, right? So when testing they are going to do, so for this particular, if any defect occurs, so they will analyze this defect where it is going to impact. Okay. So based on that, they will be deciding, okay, whether there is a priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, priority 4, like that. Okay. So your quality analysis team every time sees the defect from the perspective of the priority. So if it is P1 priority means it is very high priority, it should be fixed immediately. P4 means less priority, you can take little time and you can do that in that way. And then development team, if you tell, so everything is priority for them. That means they can't leave one module. Okay, I'll develop one module, I'll leave another module is not possible, right? So each and every module should be developed, integrated, and then unit testing should be done. So the development perspective, we can make this the classification, defect classification as severity. That means if the complexity of the code increases, then if it is coming back to you to fix it, it is very difficult. That means you have developed and you have given that for the testing. Tester has tested that, and then some defects defects are there. So again, tester assigned to the developer to fix the defects. So that time, how your developer will see, how the developer sees, in respect to the severity, how much severity the defect is. Okay, if it is more severe, that means the complexity of code is more, then it is having more severity. Otherwise, it is having less severity, like that. Okay, so like that, we are going to categorize the defects. So what is meant by priority is nothing but order in which the defect should be resolved. As I told, priority 1 means highest priority, so it should, that particular tasks which are under P1 should be resolved first, then P2, then P3, then P4. Okay. So this priority status is usually set by the QA team while raising the defect. Okay, so they will be setting that against the development team members, and then according to that, the development team members has to resolve that and it has to get back. So we have already discussed this when we are discussing in your third module. So whenever any defect comes, first they have to make it as assigned, and then so whoever has been assigned for them, it will come. So this particular defect is handled by, or they are looking this particular person like that, and then they are going to see that according to the priority. If it is a high priority defect, then they have to do that or solve that immediately. Okay, and then based on that, they'll be having some fines also from the client. So they'll be having a memorandum of understanding. In that, they'll be writing that. So if any P1 calls comes, so they have to resolve in this much time. So if they are extending more than that, means they'll be charged, isn't it? So because that is all business, right? So your priority status is generally set by the quality analysis team, and then after setting that, if that is P1, P2, P3, P4, they'll send back to the developer to fix it. So developer, they'll see that from the severity perspective. Okay, so now I have to fix this. So that means something modifications, some code modifications need to be done. So how severe it is, how is the complexity of the code, how much time I will take, how can I fix it? So everything will be calculated from the developer point of view. Is it clear listening, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 33. Still Mary are missing. Okay. So this is what I have told, the priority listing only we are categorizing low, medium, high, urgent. Okay. Otherwise, you can tell that P1, P2. This urgent as P1, this is as P2, this is as P3, and this is as P4. Okay. So generally, in software companies, they will be telling like this: low, high only, but in terms of P1, P2, P3, P4, they'll tell. So P1 issue means it is very high priority. Immediately you have to solve. So low means this defect can be fixed after the critical ones are fixed. It is not that important. And then medium means the defect should be resolved in the subsequent builds. Okay, so this is also not that important, but you should have to do. High means so immediately you have to resolve because the defects is going to affect the application, and then the relevant modules cannot be used. That means if at all because of one particular defect we are not able to use other modules also. In our project, if you have some 6 modules, because of one defect in one module we are not able to use other 4 modules. So for example, you can take the same thing, some employee management system if you take. So I have to credit salary for employees, for example. So on what basis you are going to credit salary? Based upon their attendance. If they have attended all the working days of the college, then you have to credit some full amount. Otherwise, you have to reduce depending upon the number of days attended, like that, right? So in that, I want the basic criteria for me is I have to calculate how many days they have attended. For example, college has run for 25 days or 26 days. So in 26 days, whether they have attended all the 26 days or anything they didn't attend, we have to see first, right? Then only we can credit their salaries, isn't it? But if at all any error or any defect we have observed, otherwise that particular module is not responding, that means attendance module, then what happens? It is going to affect everywhere. That means the final output of dispatching the salaries of employee will not happen until this is resolved. Okay, so that cases we will call them as high priority. So this is called as high. Urgent means, so here also the same thing. We have to resolve it immediately because the defect affects the application of the product severely and the product cannot be used until it has been fixed in the same way. So how we have done for high, urgent also the same way. So if you take any oxygen mask, oxygen cylinder in any hospital, so if at all the valve, so on and off valve is a problem. So how it is possible? Is it possible to use? No, right? So how much ever emergencies is there, we have to fix it. Otherwise, what happens if you want to open and give oxygen? It is not going to open. Otherwise, we want to close. Otherwise, you have to reduce the oxygen. It is not working. That knob is not working. Means okay, what is there? Only one knob means it will take the life of a person, right? So your high and urgent tasks are such that we cannot. That should be fixed immediately. Otherwise, you cannot proceed until they are fixed. So such kind of things we mark that as high or urgent. Okay, this is the priority listing. Next, you can say severity. So how you can see the severity as? Okay. So as we are told, severity, the developer from the perspective of development team will take the severity because the complexity of code they have to calculate for the whatever they want to fix defect. Okay, the complexity of code to fix it. So that is called as severity. So for example, you can take for flight operating website, defect in generating the ticket number against reservation is high severity and also high priority, isn't it? So what happens if it is not going to generate the ticket number? How there will be confusion, right? So if ticket number is not there, you have reserved, then how you can identify? Otherwise, how they'll identify for this particular reservation where they have allocated the seat? It should be there. Then only your reservation or your booking of the ticket will be successful. Otherwise, that website will be operating properly, right? So that is called as one of the severe one. So immediately you have to resolve that. Otherwise, your the task of your flight operating system will not be performed properly, right? So we can see here severity, we can categorize into following ways. First one is critical or severity 1. That means defects impacts most crucial functionality and then QA team cannot continue the validation of the application. So without fixing it, it can't continue, then that is called as severity 1. So we can take example like app product crash frequently. So if it is not going to open, if an app or a product if you want to buy, if that particular site is not going to open or it is going to crash frequently, then how it is possible? So until it is resolved, you can't do anything, right? So in the same way, that is severity 1. And then severity 2 is it is going to impact the functional module. So they are not going, they can't test. The team cannot even test that particular module, but continue the validation of other modules. That means in critical, it is not going to continue with any other modules also. For in major, only that module they can continue, but other modules they can continue. So example is your flight reservation. As I told, that particular reservation only it is not working means we can continue with other modules like you can add, that means whatever meal we can add, you want to add while travel, all those things you can tell. But only that number, if it is not coming reservation number, that we can fix it. But that is also a major issue. Before that, before resolving that, you can't go to your travel, right? So that is also a major issue, but it is not that critical. And then medium means we have a defect has issue with single screen or related to a single function, okay, but the function but still that particular system is functioning, then we can tell that is a medium. That means it is not going to take away or it is not going to block any of the functionality, but definitely it is going to show some impact, okay. And then low is nothing but it is not going to impact the functionality more. And then any user interface, as we have discussed, font size, look and feel of the website, and then all those things are not that priority. Maybe if the client is asking you, this is my requirement, it should be like this only, definitely you should do that, is also one of the requirement, but it does not affect anything with respect to the functionality, right? So when you are executing program, so whether text box size is big or small, font size is big or not, irrespective of that, it is going to work, isn't it? So that's why it is called as low. So you can see the example. Background color of the submit button does not match with that of the save button. So it's not that important that it should be in the same color and all. The functionality is okay, but here the look and feel is also important, right? When you say take any online websites and anything, if a look and feel is not good, no customer is going to visit, right? So it should be readable to the user. It should be very easy to understand, and the look and feel also should be correct, or it should be nice. So it is considered as low. Generally, all the severe, all the factors, whatever we got, that means whatever problems or the whatever defects we are getting like this, so all are important, not only like critical is important, low or severity 4 is not important, it is not like that, all are important. But what happens is some of the functionalities we can't go forward without applying that or without solving that, but some of the functionalities we can go, like your low priority, if any font size or color or anything is there, we can go with the functionality if you want to develop, but at the end we need to make sure that we have to change that. So severity is this, okay, these are the 4 types of severity levels. By this we are going to calculate the severity. So now we'll see with defect management process first, and then we'll see the life cycle also, otherwise life cycle or process whatever may be. So we'll see. So defect For before going to that, again we need to understand some of the terminologies. That is, what is meant by defect prevention, what is defect discovery, what is defect removal, process improvement. So what we have to see all these things. Defect prevention is very effective. As I told, prevention is better than cure. So if you are going to prevent itself without making your system flooded with defects, that is more efficient, right? And also when we are going to identify in the early stage, we can solve it very easily rather at the earliest last stage. Okay. So many will be connecting defect discovery. That means what is the defect we are going to discover, then defect removal, we are going to remove it, and then process management, process improvement. So what is the process we are following, we'll be improving that. So this collectively entirely we call this as defect management process. First we have to discover, then we have to remove, and then we have to see the process improvement. So the main goals of this defect management process is this one: prevent the defect, first one, early detection, and then minimize the impact, resolution of the defect, and then process improvement. So these are the main goals: how to prevent the defect, and then how to do it at early detection, and then minimize the impact, and then resolve also, and then improve the process. These are the main goals of our defect management process. What is the reason why we are studying this is, we have to ensure, we should know all these things, so that we should ensure that whenever any defects comes, what need to be done, how to handle that. Okay, students, are you understanding? Students, everyone following?
Yes, ma'am.
So this one we have already discussed. If you all remember, in our third module already we have seen this defect life cycle. So defect found in new status. So open we have to do, we have to assign. So we have to assign this to the development team again. If it is a issue, then we have to fix it. Okay, and then we have to verify again. If it is not an issue, then we have to reject it. Okay, so if it is an issue, we have to fix it. If you have fixed it, so verified and closed. If you are not fixing it, again we have to reopen, and again we have to go, and again we have to do. That means whenever any defect comes, we will be opening the defect, and then we will be assigning that defect. Okay, this defect has been, it is a defect. First we have to identify that. After finding that, we will be opening that, and then we will be assigning the defect to the corresponding developer. It is not that those who are developed, that person only we are going to assign, but the development team we are going to assign whatever defect it is coming. And then if it is fixed, then we are going for, so when issue is fixed, we are going to verify and close. If it is not fixed, we are going to reopen again, and then again we are going to start from here. Okay, so this is the defect life cycle, what we have already discussed regarding this in our previous module. So in this way your defect life cycle will look. Then next one is the defect management process. So defect management process. So till now what we have seen, we have discussed about regarding defect management process, goals, and then defect classification in the priority and severity, and then priority listing we have seen, and then severity also we have seen. So now we'll see defect life cycle also we have studied, right? So now we'll see how defect management process will be. So the first one is, we have to identify we have to prevent the defects. Second one is deliverable baseline. We'll see one by one what is meant by deliverable baseline. And then third one is defect discovery. We have to discover the defects, and then defect resolution should be done, and then process improvement should be done. In this many steps are there. So each and everything we'll discuss in detail. So how prevention can be done, what is meant by deliverable baseline, and then how discovery can be done, and then what is the resolution, and then how we can improve the process. We'll see now. Okay. So once call ends, all of you join back. So we'll start. So I'll end call. Once again join back, then we'll start discussing.